Every little girl thinks that Lisa Frank drew every one of those iconic characters, but she had a whole team behind her doing all that stuff.
Lisa Frank, Glitter and Greed, first impression.
Not everything was rainbows and unicorns.
The story of Lisa Frank, the company, is so different from the products they created. There's a grueling work environment.
I think they like to push people to see how far they could push them.
You know, it felt like management by fear.
There's scandal.
Hey, Lisa Frank's son here, Hunter the Leopard. Everything that you've ever been told is a lie.
Lisa Frank is a real person, went to university in Tucson, and that's where they started their first business. Their first business was called Sticky Fingers. So I've got a question about that that's going to hit a little different in a minute. But they ended up starting what we would think of as kind of the Lisa Frank Company around 1981. She ended up hiring who would become her husband and the father of her children. However, the way that she hired him was totally messed up. She's like, hey, you know what? I've got a job for you. So pack up, drive 2,500 miles. Then he gets there and she says, actually, I want to have a contest. The contest, which keep in mind, they didn't know they were driving across the country for a contest. They had been allegedly promised jobs, was to design a new Lisa Frank logo. Her future ex-husband designed this and became the first artist that they ended up hiring. However, that's only first if you don't count Lisa herself. During this time, around 1985, 1986, they decided that productivity with the other artists wasn't good enough and scrapped the entire staff and ended up hiring new people. As time went on, they hired more and more artists, and that's one of the big moments that everybody is kind of taking from this is that she didn't really design any of this herself. However, I was not that surprised about that because the way that most artists work once they get to that level, there's a lot of other artists working, and the real problem there is the rights and licensing that those artists have to their own work, even though it was produced in someone else's building, because they won't get royalties or anything like that, and these people were terribly underpaid, which led to Inside the Rainbow Gulag. This is an article from 2013, however, still has a lot of relevant information. Comparison drawn in the documentary is you're not going to go to Disney and see Walt Disney sitting there drawing. Hopefully not, he's been gone a while. But this is pretty common practice. However, the other side of this that I do not feel was addressed more is artists need more rights to their work. Doesn't matter where they created it, they still created it and deserve some cut of that pie. Because imagine, one of the ladies said that she was having to go on public assistance and stuff like that while she was working there. But Lisa was making millions of dollars off of her designs. They treated their employees so terribly that one of them literally passed away at his desk. He was taken out. No one was allowed to stop working, didn't feel like they could stop working, and the company never addressed it or even so much as a, wow, that's kind of sad.
There's alleged deceit.
I heard it, they were tapping the phones.
It was crazy paranoia. There's greed.
Now, the reasoning behind everyone thinking that they were being monitored was because there was evidence that they had been monitored. It wasn't really like a paranoid thing, except on the side of management. One email was sent saying, oh my God, James Green, who was Lisa Frank's ex-husband, is coming in today. Oh gosh, not really that deep, but she ended up being fired for that. And the coworker that she sent the email to was called into Rhonda's office, which Rhonda kind of giggles at one point in the documentary. And she's like, oh, I fired hundreds of people. I'm sure every single one of those people remembers that day, but hey, axe forgets, tree remembers. You know what I mean? But she had called this other woman in and said, you're lucky you didn't get fired too. So they were being monitored very, very heavily. And by all accounts, it seems like James Green and Lisa Frank were incredibly toxic bosses. Two of the stories that really stick out on top of the person who literally passed away at their desk is one worker who they started having them work these ridiculously grueling hours. Like Rhonda, the lady who fired everybody, she was working 7 days a week and actually now has a stress-related disorder that she believes that she did receive when she was working at Lisa Frank. But there was one man who needed to leave at dinner time to go and take his meds. And he also had to leave at lunch to take his meds. When he informed superiors, hey, I know it's 5, I just need to leave for a little bit and go do this, and then I'm going to come back, he was fired immediately. Allegedly, that one is litigious, let me tell you. Allegedly for entertainment purposes on the internet only. But the other one had to leave a little bit early to go to the bank because banks closed at 5, we got to get out of here, and they were expected to work very, very late. Someone noticed her leaving and then decided, James thought it would be a good idea, as Lisa, to padlock the doors so that nobody could leave the building. However, they were informed that that's illegal, breach of the fire code, and oh my God, 1920s factory work. Hello, are you here? These were horrible working conditions, and when asked, because James flipped artist tables and screamed at people and all of that, and when asked about it.
Did you ever flip over the critique table where artists put their work?
I hope so. I hope to God I did that because it deserved to get flipped over a few times.
Because?
Probably because there was a bunch of horse on there. My guys would have got a good laugh at it, okay?
So one, if they did laugh, they were in a toxic work environment and probably didn't feel like they had too much choice. And two, considering about 10 of them have come on an Amazon Prime documentary to complain about it, I don't know how funny they thought it was. Then when asked about his temper,
I didn't have a temper. I don't know where this temper came from. This is part of the reason why I'm here. I don't have a temper. I didn't have a temper. I did not have a temper.
I'm not a scientist or a Keebler-Elf, but I do not feel like that may have been the best way to get across that you don't have a temper, which clearly he allegedly does. But what's even scarier is that everyone said that even though he was a nightmare, Lisa was worse. That being said, I'll meet you at part 2, and we're going to talk about the marriage of convenience as well as the very messy divorce, how litigious this company is, including this shirt that I'm wearing, which was inspired by. I can't buy it anymore because the creator of this got a cease and desist, as well as what they've been up to since, including destroying an entire small business by jumping on their Kickstarter and then completely not living up to their terms and taking a lot of money. Hope you have a good day.